Good afternoon. So we just wrapped up training camp, about 13 days worth, and a couple scrimmages, one exhibition against ourselves, just inter squad, and then exhibition against Tulane a couple days ago. And we've worked, we have a lot of new faces in our program. We returned 9. We have 8 new, 5 being freshmen, 3 transfers. So we've really tried to focus on not just the ball control side of things, because that's most important in our program, but also just the camaraderie together and them trying to figure each other out, trust on the court, and we've done a lot of team building. So like Matt said, we do travel to Mississippi State and open up there this weekend against Northwestern State, Eastern Kentucky, and Mississippi State. And it's going to be a tough, challenging weekend for us.
Is there anything specific that you're looking to see in Starkville with your team?
So yes and no. Mostly, we're still trying to figure out lineups right now. We've battled through some things in training camp that we weren't expecting, and we're having to go through a couple different lineups currently. And so right now we're trying to focus on what lineup is going to be best for us currently. This team has done a great job of staying composed through the changes and challenges that we've had to see so far. So just really seeing in game 1 how we go in with that.
What are some examples of the team building exercises?
There's a lot. So we start off with something called the journey. And so basically each person answers about 13 questions of themselves from the start of their life until they got here. And just a quick, synopsis of who they are and where they came from and why they came here. And then we do something called Big Sister, Little Sister, and to where every 2 weeks they're changing their big sister and little sister to where they're making relationships with every single person on the team. What else have we done in preseason? We read a book together. So we read a book together. It's called Stick Together. That was the one that we picked because every spring we sit down with the returners and pick a word to stand by in the fall. And the word that they picked was puzzle. Then they came up with a slogan in preseason, and it's every piece matters. So if you hear us, we break out hashtag EPM in everything that we do. So that was probably the biggest one, was reading that book together and really finding the meaning of that word.
Why do you think it's so important, to do things like that? Obviously, you want to build chemistry on the floor, but why is it so important to have that same kind of concept off of, the play?
So the more you can build the relationships, you have that love and trust within each other, off and on the court. For us, we have a really good group this year, and we've been blessed since we've got here, but this group is different, and we saw it day 1, and we decided to not go the captain route this year. So right now we don't have captains, but we have a lot of leaders all the way from our freshman class to our senior class. And in one of the very first drills that we did, they stopped it, and afterwards they said, pretty much every single person talked. And so for us, that was a great indicator of where we are this year with this team. And so I think that they already do have some sense of love and trust for each other. So the more that we can spend time and working on those relationships and that chemistry, it's only going to help us further down the road.
For our coaching staff, is it a little easier knowing that you have the whole group of kind of leaders kind of shepherding and guiding the rest of the team?
It is. So we sat down this morning in our staff meeting, and we broke down our strengths and our weaknesses. And one of our biggest strengths is the composure and chemistry that this team has. And if you have those two things, you can go win big matches. Against Tulane, when things got tight in set 3, our team didn't give up. They fought, they stayed composed, and they worked together and had each other's backs. And that is great to see as a coaching staff, because those are intangibles that you can't always just coach. It's you either have it or you don't.
Showing that you did all those things for building team chemistry and things like that. Sports, you got to be a very communicator. How did that process on the court for you ladies so far coming into the start of the season?
I think it's been good so far. One of our biggest things in our program is communication. Our number 1 non-negotiable in our program is to over-communicate. And so I think they do a good job. They're not always vocal with their communication, but they show it in other ways to where they always know where each other are on the court. And I guess our first set against Tulane, it was a little shaky. Some things happened in warm-ups, and then we had to go with a different lineup than we expected to start with. And so going through that first set, it was a little bit off for them. But then you see the shift in set 2 and set 3, how they went back and they gathered themselves and worked together. They sat there in timeouts and in between sets and talked about it, and they were able to work through the adversity and get back to where we have seen them in the last couple weeks in preseason.
When last season ended, what holes from the players that left did you think that you would have, and then how is it the same, and how does that work through after these 13 practices?
So the biggest thing that we needed to work on was our culture. There were some issues that we had with people that are no longer in the program. And so last spring, that was what the majority of our spring entailed, was working on our culture. We read another book called You Win in the Locker Room First, and just the importance of how important it is to make sure your locker room is good, intact, and you guys really do love and care for each other. We knew that we would have some key pieces coming in as transfers and freshmen that were going to make an impact for us immediately, that we didn't really, it wasn't really a void that we were going to have with players we lost. I mean, we brought back pretty much our entire offense except probably one person. And then we knew the defense that we had coming in was way stronger than what we've had the last 2 seasons. So from a physical athletic standpoint, there wasn't much of a void that we were going to have to fill that we knew we didn't already have coming in.
You mentioned about having 9 returners. Just who are some of those that you've seen step up early? Not, you don't have captains, but who are some of those that could be like captain-like players that you have?
I think Cammie Hicks and Lauren Hill are 2 that the majority of the team look to in any situation that's going on. Not just a vocal standpoint, but more so a physical standpoint, because they don't always speak up, but when they do, you know it means something, because it's so rare when they do. But I mean, Kara, she's coming off of a surgery and hasn't played ball in 10 months, and it doesn't look like she's missed a beat. Celeste Darling, she got moved to the outside just in the last couple days and has done a phenomenal job there. Emery Judkins, Maya Wilson, Sienna DeCamera, our entire offense is back, which is huge for us because we have the defense now to make it easy for our setters to run a very smooth offense.
You had your scrimmage against Tulane the other night, and I noticed that you had a couple on crutches, and then right before the match started, you lost another one. How's the health of your team right now?
We are working to get healthy. We have sat and talked as a staff. We would rather it happen now and be prepared for conference. You know, we still have 4 weeks of preseason to go. And so we talked to our team. The most important part of the year is November, conference tournament time. So, you know, we've had one season-ending injury, unfortunately, but we told her silver lining is we have you another 4 years. She's a freshman. And then everybody else, we're working through those and trying to get them back healthy. But our team as a whole has done a really good job of playing in positions that they're not used to. And so that's going to be the biggest thing going into this weekend is figuring out a lineup that works.